Do you want to beat Maliss? Do you not want to lose to literally everything else under the sun? Have I got a deck for you? Hello guys, and welcome back to another cold episode. On today's episode, we're taking a look at Memento. Now, if you don't know what Memento is, where have you been? Memento is a new-ish archetype that came into the game quite some time ago, but got some new support recently in the form of things like Sleepy, Akihiron, and a few other notable cards. Well, the fusion monster, as well as things like Goblin Biker Grand Breakout. That is a hard name to say. But the point is that this deck, I think, is very well suited to beat Maliss, and the reason for this is very simple. This deck plays with a lot of engine and has the ability to dodge a lot of targeted effects interactions very well, which is pretty nice. Now, that being said, it does rely a bit on the graveyard, which is a bit of an issue, and overall, I don't really think that this is going to be like the counter to Maliss or something else of that nature, but it is a deck that overall does have a fairly decent matchup into Maliss, while not immediately losing to pretty much everything else. While it is only going to get better with the release of Ryzeal, because it does even better into Ryzeal, it's still fairly competent into Maliss. And you can see that via the TCG results. So I'm going to showcase this deck in particular because, one, it's a very fun deck to play if you don't want to play Maliss, and two, I also think that it is a fairly interesting deck in the current metagame in the way that it stacks up against Maliss. I don't know if it's the second best deck, but it's comparable, which is nice. So, let's quickly talk about the list. Starting off with the Memento monsters, we have ourselves one Mace, one Gaddock, one Sleepy, one Akihiron, and one Combined Creation. All of these fulfill different roles. Gaddock special summons itself and grabs a guy back from the grave. Sleepy special summons itself and then also has the ability to fusion summon once special. Akihiron is nice if cards are destroyed, which is the entire archetype. It special summons itself as well as it being able to, when destroyed, grab another thing from Banish or Grave. And Mace has the ability to quick effect steal an opponent's monster if you control the Combined Creation on the opponent's turn by discarding it. Or, more importantly, during the main phase, you can destroy a Memento monster you control and add a Memento card from your deck to your hand. Pretty nice. And then on top of that, so that's those five. They're all one-ofs because they're either searchable or things you don't want to draw in your hand. So there you go. Most of them are searchable as well. And next up, we're playing two Goblin. Goblin in particular has a similar effect to that of Mace, but during the main phase, you can destroy one Memento monster you control, and if you do, send up to two Memento cards with different names from your deck to your hand. Now, the thing is, this is a Goblin card, which means Grand Breakout also allows you to tribute any monster to special summon said card. That is the point behind the Grand Breakout. The idea behind this deck in particular is to use your engine, your very powerful, very consistent engine, in order to play through the opponent's board. So the ability to dodge with a lot of spells like Bone Party, Fusion, and Grand Breakout means that you have the ability to basically do additional things if the opponent has pretty much anything, right? So you can like tag out and potentially dodge effects, which is nice against things that targeted Banish or things that, you know, wants to interact with you via targeting. So that's pretty nice as well. However, with that being said, we do have a Goblin in particular, which we're playing two of because of the fact that we are playing the Grand Breakout as well. So we need that second copy. It's also something that you can send to the graveyard fairly consistently and reborn it as well. Then we are playing three apiece of Anduin and Darkblade, which Darkblade basically gets Anduin, but Anduin's effect is on summon adding a Memento monster from your deck to your hand, and then you can target a level 2 or lower in your grave to destroy, or by destroying a Memento monster, you can then special summon said targeted monster. Very useful. Now, the target we are grabbing off of the Anduin is Tatsu. I'm just going to call it Tatsu, which is, if you control no monsters other than Memento monsters, you can special summon this card from your hand. Sorry, face-up monsters. During your main phase, you destroy a Memento monster, and then send cards to the graveyard equal to or less than the levels of the original monster's level. So basically, if you pop this guy, since he's a level 5, you can send something like a 2 and a 3, which is generally what you're going to do. Right? You could also send something like a 3, a 1, and a 1, or a 2, a 1, and a 1, or something else of that nature, right? So that is generally what most of those cards do. We also have the field spell, which says if your Memento monster battles, your opponent cannot activate spell or trap cards until the end of the damage step. If a monster you control is destroyed by a card effect, you can target one of those monsters, special summon one Memento monster with a lower level from hand or grave, or once per turn during your end phase, you can target a Memento spell trap in your grave and set it. Mostly it is used for these two effects, where if you destroy a card, you get to reborn a guy, and if and during the end phase, you get to reset a card, which is very nice. Both of which are very easy to accomplish. There's that. This one is also very searchable off of the Creation King. I'm just going to call it Creation King. Effect in Grave, where you banish it from Grave in order to add that field spell. And this guy can also send himself to the grave on summon, which means it's very easy to get to the field spell. So we're just playing the one. There you go. We're also playing 3 Bone Party, which pops a memento to special summon or add a memento from hand, and then it has another effect which allows you to pierce, which is kind of funny, but not that big of a deal. We also have Memento Fusion, which fusion summons during the main phase a memento, or a fusion monster using a memento monster, and if a card was popped, you can shuffle cards back from the grave as well. On top of that, during the main phase, you can banish this card from your grave in order to destroy a monster you control, and then add a memento spell trap from your deck to your hand, which is very nice, because you could search out itself. So you can go fusion in order to grab fusion, which is one of the big things that you can do in this deck, because you can use its graveyard effect by sending it off of things like Goblin, or things like, well, it's mostly Goblin. But you can use that in order to then grab another fusion, and then use said fusion in order to actually fusion summon, which is pretty nice. Now, what are we actually fusion summoning into? We have 2 options. We have the first option, which is Twin Dragon, which we've used previously, which is if this card is fusion summoned, you can destroy a memento to add 2 memento monsters with different names from your deck to your hand, and if fusion summoned, or if this fusion summoned card is destroyed, you can special summon a level 6 or lower memento from grave. Pretty nice. Or we have the second option, which is the combined creation, the Creation King, which banishes in order to add the field spell. And then on top of that, you have the ability where if this card is fusion summoned, you send 3 memento cards, any cards, from deck or extra deck to the grave, meaning you can send things like fusion, you can send itself, you can send any other name that you may need, like for example, combined creation. On top of that, it can, just at quick effect, you can target cards or equal number of memento monsters you control and cards your opponent controls and destroy them. Meaning you can like target and destroy one of the important cards your opponent has, or multiple of them, which is very nice. This is the main point of interaction that you are going to have on the opponent's turn. So yeah, it's nice that it's at least fairly powerful. So that overall is the memento cards. The rest of the cards are just to help facilitate. We're playing the 2 Max C, the 3 Ash Blossom, 3 Fool Loss as kind of a turn skip and just a fairly decent card in general. We're also playing at 3 Lancia. Lancia is just kind of a necessary evil for the Malice monster, I guess, for the Malice Menace, so that you just don't immediately die. It's not great, but it is basically a turn skip for their deck. Not entirely, but it can be, which is nice. And then we're playing 3 Super Polymerization, because Super Poly is extremely good in this deck, being able to discard a card and send it to the graveyard, because there's a lot of times where you just have like a dead card in hand. So being able to like discard a card in order to do that is very nice. And on top of that, it allows you to just remove vast parts of the opponent's end board. Most notably, things like Apollosa just leave the field, which is very, very nice. So, for the most part, that's why this is in here. And then the 2 Goblin, like Breakout, as we mentioned previously, and 2 Called by the Grave. That's it for the non-engine. As for the extra deck, it's pretty simple. We're playing a bunch of Super Poly targets, Mudragon, Garura. We're playing Azamina Soul, which is kind of interesting, but the idea behind this is you can actually fusion summon it using your Memento Fusion by fusion summoning using Creation King and any of your Fiend monsters. We have, I think, 2. So there's that, and it's pretty decent. You just target a card in the field and send it to the graveyard, which is pretty nice, especially with like floodgates and stuff like that. So you could potentially like quick play to like dodge a problematic guy field, what is it called? Floodgate. There we go. And then you just send it to the graveyard, which is pretty cool. So there you go. On top of that, we are playing the Earth Golem Adagnister, which requires a Cybers monster and Link monster. This is very easy to get to off of Malice combo. So you just send away the entire field. It's like, hey, nice Malice end board you had there. It'd be a shame if your Apo and anything else that was on your board just made a Golem. So that's the idea behind that. And then we're also playing the Guardian Chimera, which is also summonable off of the Memento Fusion, which is very nice. You just pop cards or draw cards. Very useful. We're also playing Typhon, because it's just fairly decent in this deck, given the fact that, I mean, it's just decent in general, and you can play on the opponent's turn via things like Fusion and Bone Party, and even Super Polymerization, and even Grand Breakout is technically playable on the opponent's turn as well. So there's that. The Link monsters become a little bit more interesting. We're playing Herald of Mirage Lights, which is kind of strange and does not really come up a whole bunch, but it's fairly decent in what it accomplishes, which is basically just you send a fairy monster, which you can either send Mace or you could send a Lancia in order to destroy or to negate and destroy a spell trap. So there's that. There are a bunch of ways to get Mace into the hand as well. So there's that. We're playing a Dark, we're playing a Sprite Elf, we're playing SP Little Knight, we're playing a Selene, because we do have a Spellcaster in Anduich, and we're playing Axis Kotaker. Let's hop into the replays and show you how this deck performs. Alright, so here we are going first, and this is a very strong hand, especially if we're going second, but alas, we are going first. This is more so just to show you what the combo can actually accomplish. So we're going to start off with Darkblade. Darkblade is going to grab Anduich. Anduich is going to grab Sleepy. And then we're going to go for the Tatsu. Yeah. Tatsu is going to send the Gaddock. Gaddock is going to special summon itself. And Gaddock effect is going to activate, adding back the Mace. Now we can go for the Anduich effect in order to special summon back the Goblin. And Goblin is going to then activate its effect, popping itself in order to send two. We are going to send Akihiron and Fusion. Fusion is going to use itself in order to pop the Gaddock, which will add Bone Party here. Akihiron now, seeing as a card was destroyed, special summons itself, and then we can destroy it in order to special summon another Goblin from deck. This could have been anything. Realistically, what I should have done is not sent the Mace off of the Tatsu. So I should have not sent it there, so that on the following or on the activation of the Bone Party, we could have special summoned Mace here, and then Mace could have activated its effect there. So there's that. Anyway, Akihiron adds back the Fusion spell, which now we can use in order to shuffle back 3 and go into the Creation King. Out comes the Creation King, and we can activate its effect in order to send 3 cards. We're going to send the other Creation King, as well as the Combined Creation, and a name for the Combined Creation, because this card requires 5 different named Memento monsters in order to special summon itself from grave. By shuffling those back. And then it has a effect on field where if the opponent does a thing, you special summon a Memento from grave or hand, which is pretty nice. So here we're going to banish in order to grab up the field spell. Field spell is going to activate, and now we can activate the Sleepy. Sleepy effect is going to activate in order to fusion summon. We're going to use the Mace in order to go into the Twin Dragon. We're specifically keeping Goblin on field for later. We're then going to add Goblin as well as the Darkblade for a follow-up, and then activate the effect of the Twin Dragon as well as the Memento, or the Memento field spell, in order to target the Twin Dragon, special summon back specifically Gaddock, and then also special summon back anything, basically. Now we get to link off into Elf. Elf effect is going to activate, bringing back, again, that Gaddock, which puts 2 Fiends onto our field, which allow us to go into Herald of Mirage Light, which require 2 monsters of the same type and attribute. So, now we can finally shuffle back our cards in order to special summon out our Combined Creation, which is a very powerful card. So, all in all, this may not seem like a lot, but let's resolve our field spell and set Fusion. So, all in all, what do we have? Goblin effect is going to protect our cards from being targeted, so we can send that at any time in order to protect our cards from targeting. Realistically, I should just fire this as soon as I can in main phase, but you'll see why I don't in a second. We also have the ability to negate via the Herald of Mirage Lights with the Lancia in hand. If we had also elected to add the Mace to our hand, we could have done that as well, and used Mace as well, which Mace's in-hand effect is also fairly decent. We have the Combined Creation, which can reborn anything, most notably Sleepy. Sleepy on summon could give us another Fusion summon, which we go into Twin Dragon and continue comboing from there. We have the the Fusion spell, which allows us to go into something like Guardian Chimera in order to pop and destroy, which is very nice. We also have additional pops off of the Creation King, and then of course we have the Sprite Elf as well in order to reborn something in the future, right? As of right now, it's not really doing anything, but we could potentially reborn something like a Maxi if it is being called by. So, there's that. Anyway, my opponent's going to start off here with the Pot of Extrav, which we will promptly negate, because that seems like a good negate. And, yeah. Then, my opponent is going to normal summon a Clear World monster, and then normal summon Clear Vicious Knight, which... Sure. Look, again, this is mostly to showcase the combo. However, this is a floodgate. And now I can't do anything. Except for the fact that I'm lying to you. We still have the capability of doing something. But basically, this card says I can't activate anything on the field. So keep that in mind. But there is one way that this deck in particular, or this version of the deck, does play around specifically this Floodgate, but there's a bunch of other ways. This also is like Rexstrum, basically. That's a good way of thinking about it. It's basically just Rexstrum. So, there you go. Anyway, Akihiron is going to special summon itself because they destroyed the thing, and then we're going to special summon the Sleepy as well. The opponent is going to activate the effect of banishing Tatsu with the Called By because, I don't know, reasons. And then they're just going to pass the turn on basically nothing. I don't know why we elected to do this, but it's fine. We draw Gaddock for a turn, which is fine, but overall, we're going to normal summon the Goblin here, because this is only special summoned monsters, so we still have the ability to normal summon the Goblin and activate the effect. Now, this is very important, because we put Mace into the graveyard while destroying Akihiron. Akihiron's effect is now going to activate in Grave, targeting the Mace to add it back to hand. We're also going to re-special summon it back a monster, which I elect to special summon the Gaddock here, and then we can activate the effect of fusion in order to pop the Gaddock, and then we are going to add it to we're going to activate the effect of the Akihiron to special summon itself as well, and then we're also going to make an SP overlay. We do have the out to this guy, we just need to keep a zone open, so we're going to do that. During the end phase, we're also going to send an additional Bone Party, which we also search a Bone Party off of the fusion that we activated earlier. Anyway, my opponent's going to try to go to combat here, and we're just going to activate the effect of the Mace, targeting, grabbing back the guy. Realistically, what I should have done is, first things first, I should have activated the Bone Party, popping a card, in order to special summon a guy, and then activated the Mace there. Reason being, it would have played around Called By a little bit more effectively, because then we could have activated the fusion spell and shuffled back cards in order to then or shuffled it back in order to then not have been Called By. So that's what I should have done. That was a big goof on my part. Anyway, good game. Alright, now what do we do going second? And the answer is pretty simple. As you saw in a lot of, well, in the deck profile, basically the idea here is activate a turn-ending hand trap, or draw Super Poly. Here we ended up drawing the turn-ending hand trap, and of course my opponent is playing Malice, so that's why I'm showing you this. This is generally the game plan. It's prevent them from basically playing the game. Technically, Fool Loss is not nearly as bad, but you get the point, right? This is more or less what we're trying to do. My opponent's going to go for something here, which I don't know why they elect to do this. They had a fairly decent play by more or less giving me no draws and just passing, but I guess they don't have any hand traps or anything like that. We end up drawing Ash Blossom, which is okay, and Called By, which is even better. But yeah, at this point we can literally just normal summon the Dark Blade here, and especially with the Grand Breakout, we have a very, very solid plan here. Now, that being said, if we just normal summon Dark Blade and they, like, activate Max C, I would either have to not chain Dark Blade in order to not die to SP, unless we have the Grand Breakout specifically, which we do, which is very nice. Otherwise, like, SP just banishes here, or we chain, they negate, we banish, and then we just kind of sit here and go, okay, well, I guess you don't have anything, and I don't have anything, so there's that. But alas, we did draw the Grand Breakout, which is very nice. They're going to activate the Max C. I'm going to elect to activate the Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring, to the which my opponent will then concede. Max C minigame. Gotta love it. Alright, I know, that wasn't exactly the greatest, but let me showcase a bit of a better game, in the very least. That being said, I keep drawing Combined Creation. He keeps ending up in my hand. But alas, my opponent is going to activate the Fool Loss and then activate the Max C, and I'm like, okay, well, there you go. Activate that that Called By on the Max C, so that our Tatsu doesn't give them a free draw. So yeah, let's go for the Tatsu here. Now, this game should be a bit better, hopefully. We'll see. My opponent activates the effect failure. I'm like, okay, well, it's Super Poly in a dream. We're hoping we're gonna get there. At the very least, even if they were to deal with the Tatsu, we have another one, so there's that, and we can just, like, tribute over whatever we Super Poly. My opponent activates another Max C. There's not really a whole lot that I can do about that. I'm gonna activate my Bone Party here in order to pop and special summon a guy, and hopefully we have something here. I'm going to go for the Dark Blade here. We're going to activate the effect of the Dark Blade. We're going to target the back row, which happens to be Majesty with White Destiny. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Of course, it's Blue Eyes. I am going to activate the Tatsu here in order to send it to. We're going to go for the Gaddock, because I'm pretty sure I can kill them pretty easily here with very few draws. We're going to activate the Gaddock effect. We're going to add back the Sleepy here, and then we're going to activate our Dark Blade in order to pop. Okay, I lied to you. We're not doing any of that. Forget I said anything. That's okay, we still have Sleepy, we can still special summon the Sleepy and go from there, so it should be fine. I mean, we're giving them, like, what, 2 more draws or something like that in order to get the full combo, and you've got to be kidding me. Okay, there's still technically plays that I could technically make, but I really need to specifically be able to have Super Poly Super Poly have a discard, because again, I know that I'm playing against Blue Eyes, and for the most part, at the very least, Super Poly does do something against that deck, so I'm just going to do this. I'm going to make Elf, I'm going to pass. However, I did make a bit of a mistake here. It's not too big of a mistake, all things considered, but realistically, I should have used Sleepy and the Gaddock so that I could add back Sleepy off of the Gaddock, so that Sleepy could potentially special summon itself and fusion summon via that effect if they were to like walk over one of my monsters by combat. It's a little... It's a tiny misplay, but realistically, it is a misplay nonetheless. So, there's that. Anyway, not that big of a deal. My opponent is going to set one and then normal summon Sage, because of course, why would they not have drawn the entire full combo? It's fine. It's fine. I get to go Gaddock here. We're going to activate the effect in order to add back a card, and the card is literally just going to be used for Super Polybait here. So I just add back the Bone Party, because technically speaking, it is also the best card here, just in general. So yeah, we're gonna add back that, and of course they go for the True Light here into True Light, activate the wishes, pitch Droll, sure, grab Roar, grab Valor, activate Roar, special summon it, Blue Eyes White Dragon, activate the effect of their Maiden, special summon it, and then activate the effect of the wishes. And I'm like, okay, I need you to go to combat because I need pretty much every single card on my field to still be on my field in order to do anything. So they do go to combat and I go, yay! And I fusion summon away the entire field for Mud Dragon. And then of course, before we actually leave the battle phase, I'm going to activate the Mud Dragon in order to keep my entire field from being targeted. The reason for this is because this is fire, meaning they can't target out of these via the effect of the Mud Dragon, and Elf protects these two via being pointed to those cards by Elf. So there's that. They also elect to bring back Tyrant Dragon, which I don't think that they know how these cards work. Reason I say that is because this guy's negated, and Blue Eyes would have been more protected technically because I wouldn't be able to target it. So there's that. But it's fine. They elect to activate, they elect to set a card here. They set the Destined Rivals, which is not what I was expecting, but okay. It's fine. We're just going to link off here into SP Little Knight, and we should be fairly okay. We're going to go for the Elf here. Elf in order to bring back. Gaddock is going to grab up the Darkblade. Darkblade effect is going to activate, to the which they will activate in order to target our Darkblade, and I go, let's not do that, and I attempt to banish, and then I forget that this card effect exists. But that's fine, we still have Goblin Breakout, so we're still going to be able to special summon here and pop a card. We pop the Gaddock, and then we special summon the Ange-Witch effect, Gaddock effect, special summon back the Gaddock, add Aki Huron. I don't know what I was doing here. This is just card in hand. Look, I don't know. I was trying. Activate the Goblin effect, send it to here, doesn't really matter. We're going to then special summon the Mace here off of this effect, and out comes Purge. It was Purge set. They set Purge. I don't know why they set Purge. Purge stops Maxi. Why would... I guess they knew I didn't have anything, but still, I don't know. That was weird. Anyway, beside the point, because guess what? Now we get to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and that is enough for the big lad. Combined creation. We're going to pop the Gaddock in order to grab Fusion from Fusion, and then activate the effect of the Fusion, and we're going to Fusion summon into Guardian Chimera. This may seem a bit strange, but I don't really have lethal unless I go into Guardian Chimera via the effect of our... or by, like, fusing away the field. I guess, technically speaking, I could have gone for the in-archetype Memento guy and just, like, sent some stuff and kind of kept going from there. But I figured let's do this instead because it's funnier. We also know all of the things. So we're going to reborn the Aki Huron and give it piercing because it's funny. And then we're going to punch over for well over lethal. Oh, if you're wondering why we were able to reborn off of the Creations effect, it's because the opponent activated the mandatory effect of their True Light, which was activated when it was destroyed. So because they activated a card effect, Creation was able to reborn. So, comedy. Good game. Alright, we're back with the deck, and I know that I didn't necessarily showcase a whole bunch of Maliss games, but let me tell you, pretty much every Maliss game was the one that you saw. That's the thing with this deck, as well as Maliss in general. Either you draw the out and they die, or you don't. If I played like 30 games against Maliss, maybe there would be one that had an interesting game. So, there's that. That being said, I still think that this deck is fairly decent and is worth looking at. I don't think it has like a 100% win rate or something like that. I'm not gonna like tell you that it's the counter to Maliss or something like that. Actually, I might have said that in the thumbnail. Don't crucify me. But I don't think it is like the end-all be-all and is going to absolutely beat Maliss, but it is something worth playing and it is something worth checking out because I do think that it has a fairly decent matchup into Maliss, while also not losing to basically anything else, which is fairly nice. It's also significantly better the better you are at the deck, so if you really like getting really good at a deck, this is a deck for you, right? If you enjoy something like, I don't know, Unchained, or Ryzeal, I don't know, Mitsurugi, something like that. Vanquish Soul is a good example. Anything that, like, rewards you for having better knowledge than your opponent of your own deck, it's going to be way better. So there's that. I misplayed a ton in this as well, so keep that in mind as well. This deck can get a lot better if you're just better at the sequencing and better at the lines. So there you go. I'm going to call it quits there. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope that you guys did indeed enjoy. If you did, like us very much, so appreciate it. And remember to always stay frosty. Bye-bye.